Hey, what's up? This is Tony, and I am here with Black Francis, also known as Frank Black, also known as Charles, from the Pixies. And
it is I.
He's here. He lives in the flesh, and I am a huge Pixies fan, so I'm honored to have this moment with you. This is the last stop on this tour.
It is, yeah. It's the end of the line, you know what I mean? You kind of just go as far as you can west, and then it's sort of like there's the ocean and you can't go any further.
I'm sure you've been over all this stuff, but what really inspired the reunion?
I was at a radio station and they were trying to get something out of me about like the Pixies and, you know, any chance you guys getting back together. And so I just sort of played along sarcastically and said, "Oh yeah, we're getting back. We jam all the time." You know what I mean? I was obviously being really sarcastic, and then it's the press or whatever, and so they went, and then I had to call the band and say, "Sorry, I was just like messing around." But I guess now that the cat's out of the bag, I'm always really happy when I'm touring with the Pixies. But there is this sound that I don't know what it is. It's just the combination of the four of us, and it always, when I'm away from it and I come back to it, it always feels like, oh wow, this really is special, So
does that make you want to do new Pixies music?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard because we haven't done it in so long.
Would you have to retune your brain to think up Pixie style lyrics?
That's a good question. All I can do is look back to my early songs, and your first thought is, oh, how do I tap into that again? But then your second thought is like, well, wait a minute. Maybe that's wrong too, to try to tap into something that isn't you anymore. You think, well, then I should just do what comes natural. So, I'm probably making it too big of a deal than it really is. It's just
not to us.
Rock music,
Did you know of Fight Club, the book, before they approached you to use Where's My Mind?
No, I didn't. I'm not that well read. But
did you enjoy the movie? Like, is that
yeah,
type of
I loved
thing?
it. I loved it, and I loved my big scenes.
So were you really Teenager of the Year?
I was, yeah. Yeah, it's this one particular high school that we went to for a couple of years, and they had this Teenager of the Year award.
What a strange title.
Yeah.
And how horrible for everyone else. Like, just you know what I mean? Like, you're not Teenager of the Year.
Yeah.
He's the Teenager of the Year.
I know. There was an awards banquet and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm glad
my mother still has the award.
That's awesome. Okay, so and I'm sure you've covered this elsewhere, but Kurt Cobain is famously quoted for writing "Smells Like Teen Spirit." He wanted to write a Pixies song, and that's how that song came out.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that in that song, or did you have any ever?
Not particularly, but I mean I relate to his statement. I mean that's how a lot of musicians think. Truthfully, if you're good at what you're doing, then your filter will be strong. That it doesn't really end up sounding anything like Led Zeppelin or Lou Reed or the Pixies, and ends up sounding like you. So.
Was the last album was it Non-Stop Erotic? And what inspired you to write that?
I think I just always wanted to make a record called Non-Stop Erotic, and so I kept the subject matter kind of about love and lust and romance and that kind of thing. But I don't really need to be inspired to make a record. I mean, I am inspired right now to make a record. I have to I got a session booked. There's a session in 3 weeks, and I got to.
And that's the pressure maybe you need to do it.
Yeah, totally.
I read the whole biography and everything, and I loved that all of the stuff on Surfer Rosa, just with you guys talking in the studio, how he decided to keep that. Did you have any idea that was going on?
I don't think that we did. He wasn't being secretive about it. It just, when he finally did it, it was just sort of like we thought it was funny. It wasn't our first record, but it was our first full record, and it was the first record that people were kind of like starting to pay attention to us, and I think it endeared a lot of people to us to hear the voices talking, especially Kim and I. There's a yin and yang thing between Kim and I, and just even if I'm hogging the mic, so to speak, on the stage vocally, even just her standing there just totally softens it or something. And so I think that's pretty key to people's perception of the band.
What did you think of the Breeders?
I guess I don't know her records so well. Probably because a lot of them started to come out right after we broke up. We had this about a 11 or 12 year period where we just went our
Right.
separate ways, and it's a shame, really. But anyway, that's life, and we're not strangers anymore. So
The team that I was on in the 80s is called the Bones Brigade, and they're doing a documentary right now.
okay.
And from my sort of breakaway segment in the film, they use Tony's theme.
Oh,
And so we just saw a screening of it, and I have no idea if you know that that's in there. I don't know if it's a placeholder or if they're getting approval on it, but
I haven't. I'll get an email.
I was pretty excited.
And it'll be approved. Don't worry about it. I say yes to everything.
We're re-releasing the best of our first 2 video games, and I really want to use a Pixie song for it. So I'm asking you if you think that is a possibility.
You were pre-approved.
Oh, thank you. Since you're here, what song would you like to pick for it?
There's this song called "The Sad Punk," which has a kind of
Yeah.
it's a lot of tempo changes. I don't know if that would work, but
No, that would be
Give it a
great.
shot.
I'm okay. Activision, get on that. All right. Music department. All right. Well,
Come on.
Frank, thank you very much.
Been a pleasure.